I was told a story. I sat down next to a lovely young lady who told me about a place called Cabo Pulmo, where they had made a marine protected area, and that marine protected area was there for 15 years. She said she dove that site, and then after which she saw the likes of what she remembered 50 years prior. The amazing human being was none other than Dr. Sylvia Earle. Then she looks at me and she said, how do we value a healthy ocean where it is without taking anything from it? That one question has led me on a journey for the last 10 years. It wasn't something I could just Google. But one of the things that I thought was really important is like, I'm an artist. Maybe I could do something. And so after meeting her, several months later, I actually found myself in Tonga, which is a country just east of Fiji in the South Pacific. Now, I want you to envision this with me. Here I am underwater, and everywhere you look is nothing but blue. Blue skies. I can't even see the boat. There's no island. I'm not swimming anywhere. I am locked in my situation. And out of nowhere, a dark shadow pops out of nowhere, and then another and another. And the first thing that passes me is a 40-ton female, and behind her, 13 males. And us guys, we kind of do the same things, whether we're humans or whether we're cetaceans. We're wanting to show off to the ladies and say who's the strongest. That's what they were doing. And here I was right in the middle. But then all of a sudden, one pulled out and looked right at me. Next thing I notice, here he was, stopped. He looked at me, and it was this dead silence. Everything is happening in the background. This guy looks at me like my grandma did, over the glasses. And when you do that, nothing is being said, but everything is being said at the same time. I made my way. What acted like maybe 10 seconds felt like 100 years to me. I get back on the boat, and then I remembered that inside cetaceans' brains, they have more spindle cells in their prefrontal cortex than we do as humans. Now, your spindle cells in your brain are actually used to understand the dynamics of the relationships of the persons that are around you. And they have more of them than we do. So then that made it really crazy, because as I'm on the boat, I realized, whoa, he's processing something about me that my brain can't even process. Let that sit with you. So then that's when I said, that's what I'm going to do. So I traveled the world. I documented the threats facing the ocean, but I always put an emphasis on what we needed to fight for. One of those installations was a neurofeedback art installation where I showed you all these horrible things, and then what you ended up seeing was just trash. But if you cleared your mind, be in the present moment, we'd use EEG systems to be able to show you what that was worth. So while that was all well and cool, I still wasn't answering that question. How do we value a healthy ocean where it is without taking from it? And I guess the thing is I noticed that people would go through these art installations and they would feel something, but some people aren't motivated simply by feeling or tears or crying. Sometimes people are motivated by numbers. They're analytical. So could I actually come up with a situation where we could somehow grab this information? Could I make the next art installation? I was always fascinated with the idea of doing one more thing. And that one more thing for me became this art installation that was a business. But to do that, I had to kind of work on something much smaller than a whale. Take, for instance, this photo I took in Jamaica. Now, that's a little baby that's making his way, a little baby turtle making his way for the first time to the ocean, but underneath him is seagrass. And, I don't know about you. If you've ever been to the ocean, maybe I'm weird. I just don't like that stuff touching my toes. But you know what's so amazing about seagrass is seagrass can actually sequester an enormous amount of carbon. Acre for acre, it can sequester more carbon than a terrestrial forest. It does amazing things. It can keep that carbon in the sediment for thousands of years. And beyond that, it actually makes food that feed fish that feed billions of people. Acre for acre, this is the most valuable thing that I can think of. But ask a bank, ask a hedge fund manager, how valuable is your seagrass? Interestingly enough, it's not on the balance sheet anywhere, and the value is zero. That kind of bothered me, so I tried to think about how money worked. See, on one shore, we have, of course, that was the zero right there, just in case you forgot how much it was worth, it's zero. But on one side, we actually have all the money in the world. If you think about the banks, you can think about hedge funds, and then on the other side, we have nature. Now, how do we get those two to talk to each other? Now, we have had real success in recent years, something called a debt for nature swap. Now, a debt for nature swap is where a sovereign entity will restructure its debt to make a little bit of capital to invest back into nature. But did you hear what I just said? We restructure debt to invest in nature. But didn't we just say that nature does something for us? Shouldn't that have value? In fact, it does. And so one of the problems that I saw is just like that photograph, I'm showing you something that ultimately, hopefully, would move you to be wondrous and excited about. But it doesn't do much for pulling at the information for a bank. So we thought, well, what if we could grab, satellite data, ship data, buoys, all these different types of systems that are already out there. And then we built a machine learning algorithm to sift through that data, look for those anomalies before they became the next catastrophe. Then all of a sudden, we have something that the markets are interested in, proof. For instance, if you were to send some money to somebody, say it was PayPal, would you just send it willy-nilly, or would you want to verify that it's actually going to the right person? Of course you would, right? We all do that. Verification is that invisible thing that moves trillions and trillions of dollars around the global economy. So this is something that's extremely important. But you know what's funny? In that little moment, I realized there was another variable that I wasn't paying attention to. That other variable was the human factor. How many ideas have we heard pitched to us over the years? And how many times have we looked at really great ideas that were paired up with the wrong people? You see, this isn't about a startup. This is about the ocean. This is our life support system. So if we're going to do something, we absolutely need to make sure that it survives. And so for us, we thought, well, what if we looked at the human element? What are these people really good at associated with this technology and this situation so that we could actively make sure we had a dashboard that could analyze all that information? So that became the way that we took ocean intelligence and turned it into actionable intelligence. We want to be able to move the needle into doing something great. Now, that's all great in abstract talk. But let's talk about a real place, the British Virgin Islands. Now, it's got 59 square miles of land, and it has approximately 30,000 square miles of ocean. Entire system costs money. To protect the ocean is very expensive, and it is. If we create a marine protected area, it is. But we now know that those systems are worth hundreds of millions of dollars. This is really exciting. And this is not my number. This is based off the economic work of Dr. Ralph Shining, who for the last 25 years was the assistant director of the International Monetary Fund. And his time there was trying to figure out how to value nature. So we built the system to look and see what's into the ocean because just like a photographer, I'm trying to take pictures of these amazing creatures. Now it was about taking data and showing the rest of the world what that motivating piece is. Because let's think about it. What is art really, right? When I was younger, I thought, oh, it's just something that's beautiful. I don't believe that anymore. Whenever you look at a piece of artwork, it should pull something out of you, right? Maybe you get upset or disgusted, or maybe you feel somber. But hopefully, when you go to a museum, something comes out of you that didn't exist or wasn't present before. And so I wanted to try to do that with those really boring banking people. And this became the strategy for it. So now what I've told you is that there's value in actually protecting these seagrass. And so at one point, we had a financial liability to create a marine protected area. So now, how do we create MPAs now? These are marine protected areas. Sometimes we get donations for them. And there's nothing wrong with generosity. That's all well and good. But if we rely on donations to be able to fund marine protected areas, then that marine protected area is always one bad year away from not existing. This completely changes the dynamic. And we have to think about, what does the ocean actually do for us at the end of the day? Well, the ocean is more than 71% the surface of the ocean, of the planet, rather, and it regulates our weather. We experienced that here recently. It also provides all of the oxygen, or most of the oxygen that we breathe. And so when we look at that, and then now we completely understand that it's also sequestering enormous amounts of carbon that would otherwise cook us, this becomes so amazing because now we have something that is actively doing something seemingly for free and very quiet. But if we think for just 1 second that the ocean is free, we'd be sorely mistaken. We actually are paying for this as we speak. You see, the next major storm that comes through our insurance premiums go up. Whenever food systems, whenever the fisheries collapse, our food cost increases considerably. And then what about the towns that get destroyed because of severe weather events? Now our taxes go up. I started this talk just asking the question, how do we value a healthy ocean where it is without taking from it? And I'm really excited to say that after 10 years, I think we can answer that question. A recent paper by Dr. Ralph Shami and collaborators that was released just this month states that seagrass alone is worth, it could potentially be worth up to $2 trillion. Wow, that changes things considerably. And when I think about what I would like to invest in as a human, and all of us as humanity, that seems to be like the best possible thing we could invest in, because it's the very thing that makes all of our other investments profitable. But you know, I alluded to this before. This isn't about me. It's not about a company. It's not about the art that I make. It's about us as human beings on this planet, as Carl Sagan referred to it as a pale blue dot. And we've seen artists, philanthropists, business leaders all come together to unify to this particular mission and say, hey, you know, we're going to do something together. And I think that's the most powerful thing that we could possibly ask for. So when I look back, in a few months, I'm going back to Tonga. And I'm going to be in the water again with my humpback friends. It's my favorite place to be. And I really hope I run into this guy again. And I wonder if he could talk, what would he say to me? Well, I would hope that he would say, Jeremy, it's good to see you again. Found a lady. But I'm most thankful that you listened to me. I'm really thankful that you talked to your people and that your people came together and your people did something. Because now I can go on and I can live my life exactly in this space and share the planet with you. Thank you.